to Jonathan Taylor. Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor made a man miss the line of scrimmage and then runs it into Pater for a one-handed INT. Are you kidding me? Kenny Moore.
What a play by Nyheim Hines.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. Cody Felger, Derek Larger with you here. As you can tell, I'm pretty giddy right now. I think Derek is as well. The Colts solved their left tackle issue, at least for this year. They signed Eric Fisher to a one-year deal worth $9.4 million. Derek, we haven't heard your thoughts on Eric Fisher yet. So before we get into the meat of this video, give me your immediate reaction, your immediate thoughts to the Colts signing Eric Fisher.
I mean, it's about damn time. That's all I'm going to say. About time they finally did something with that left tackle spot. And, I'm excited for it. This is a guy that I think, this guy stays healthy. This could solve our problem for many years, that we won't have to worry about it. Overall, very ecstatic. I'm really happy that we got the left tackle that we feel comfortable with signing. And I'm looking forward to it, man. The offensive line is going to be complete once again.
Oh, man, I tell you what. I mean, Colts fans should collectively be breathing a sigh of relief, right? The blood pressure should be going down for the left tackle position now. I mean, obviously the Achilles injury we talked about, it's a concern, but the Colts feel like they could potentially get Fisher back at the end of September, which would mean he'd only miss 3 or 4 games, which I think is huge for what the Colts want to do at tackle, especially adding that 17th game. So you mentioned it a little bit, Derek, about the Colts' future at left tackle, right? The Colts obviously just signed him to a one-year deal, but he's only 30 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think the topic of this video, this is what we're going to talk about today, is how Eric Fisher could potentially, and we say potentially because you don't know off of injuries, how he could potentially solve the Colts left tackle issue for the next few years. I mean, let's dive into it, Derek. Eric Fisher, before the injury, was one of the best tackles in the league, one of the best left tackles in the league, former first overall pick in 2013. He's just a tremendous player. He really is. And to get that guy for that cheap of a deal, I mean, I think the talent, first off, can't be understated here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the talent certainly is there. I mean, we were seeing I was looking at the stats earlier. I don't remember what Colts Twitter page responded to it, but it was kind of showing, some of the penalties and the sacks allowed, things like that throughout his career. Cause this guy's been in the league now for over 7 seasons.
Yep.
I mean, this guy certainly has gotten better and better as the time has gone along. Really is a case of, the more years this guy's had in the system, the better that he got. Last season only had 3 penalties, only allowed 3 sacks leading up to the Super Bowl game, which he obviously didn't get to play in. Overall, I mean, grade was an 80 overall for PFF, which, is really good for a left tackle. Overall, I mean, talent-wise, I mean, that's kind of why I think that there's a lot of people that are saying, you were one of those people that especially said it. Like when you're looking at the comparison between him and Charles Leno, who a lot of other Colts fans were saying the Colts probably should have went with, the Colts felt the talent of an Eric Fisher was much more useful and not as worrisome when it comes to the injury. I know a lot of people are saying that with the injuries, which we'll talk about here in a second, but that's why ultimately the Colts were willing to take a risk here because Ballard knows him specifically. And, it makes sense that, you would have a guy that, was drafted number 1 overall for a reason back in 2013.
Yeah, you mentioned it, the PFF grade. I know a lot of people are kind of hesitant on those grades, and I get it. Some of them are kind of crapshoots, but I mean, if you look at it from that way, he's better than Charles Leno. He's better than Costanzo was last year. So I think this could potentially even be looked at as an upgrade at left tackle. I mean, especially considering kind of the, I'll say, turnstile last year at left tackle. I mean, how many guys did you have starting with Costanzo getting injured a couple times there? So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think the talent is unquestionable. I think he provides exactly what you need at left tackle. And the second thing is age, right? He's not that old. He's one of the younger guys here that was still available, right? He's only 30 years old. I think he just turned 30 years old. So, if I'm correct there. So he's still got some good years of valuable football left. He's still a player that's in his prime, right? He's still a player that's, we think, could continue to take more steps, right? Continue to grow. Like, it's not like he's at his full ceiling yet, I feel like. I mean, he's pretty close, I feel like, because he's one of the best tackles in the league. But, I mean, this is a guy that still has a lot of quality years left. I mean, you talked about it. We've talked about it before, Derek. Some of these tackles have played in their late 30s. At certain points, right? I mean, you threw out a guy like Russell Okung, who's 33, 34. So you think if Eric Fisher just turned 30, he has at least 3 or 4 more years, maybe even more, to potentially continue to be a Pro Bowl caliber type of left tackle. So what are your thoughts just on the age for Eric Fisher?
Yeah, and you were right. He just turned 30 back in early January. January 5th is his birthday. So you're right. I mean, he's going to be 30 for the majority of this season. I mean, we're starting to find the cycle of a player. We're starting to add years onto it now because we're saying, like, players take better care of their bodies now. A lot of players will last a lot longer. You know, we're seeing some of these linemen. I mean, obviously Eric Fisher is not the same as Trent Williams, but Trent Williams is damn near 33 years old. Okay.
Right.
And he just got a 6-year deal. Okay. So, and Trent Williams at 33 years old, San Francisco was comfortable enough to say, for 6 years, we're going to give you a contract because we feel that you're worth that. I mean, Eric Fisher, as long as he doesn't deal with any more injuries, I mean, offensive linemen, they go into their mid-30s, sometimes even late 30s. Andrew Whitworth, 39 years old, still playing. So, you know, there's guys that do tend to have that happen. I mean, as long as he wants to continue to keep playing and as long as the injuries don't continue to happen, then this guy can go for 4 or 5 years. And, I mean, the Colts won't have to worry about it for another 4 or 5 years. And that's great, especially when, you know, a lot of these guys are in contract years on your offensive line right now. You know, Braden Smith's going to get one here soon. You know, Quentin Nelson's going to get one next year. And then you have to think about what you're going to do with Glowinski, right? Mm-hmm. But then if you get Eric Fisher, you got him for cheap this year. You can go next year and know that he's going to want to play a little bit longer and still get him for relatively cheap. I mean, overall, I mean, yeah, this is a guy that can play for multiple years and really help this offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, I think this, you mentioned it helps your offensive line for the next few years. And also in saying that, like, you're not going to have a first or second round pick next year, depending on how Wentz pans out, right? So you got to still address some other positions, right? We have some question marks even now at corner, right? You don't really have an immediate guy outside of Kenny Moore that you firmly believe right now that is proven they're going to be a mainstay in that defensive backs room, at least at the corner position. Maybe quarterback if Wentz doesn't pan out. Or there's a lot of other positions, I think, as well, that other people would say are needs, wide receiver being one of those. And there's a few others as well. So I think what this allows you to do, Derek, if you can re-sign him next year for a multi-year contract, if he really recovers well and he plays well this season, yeah, he's going to cost a little bit more than $9 million per year. But, I mean, if you can get one of the best tackles, stay in your building, right? I mean, it's going to help you continue to address those positions that you really need. I mean, that's why this year the Colts felt confident they could take 2 pass rushers in the first and second round, right? Because they knew that a guy like Eric Fisher would still be available. And I think that's what it helps you do, is address other positions. And you don't have to worry about one of the most important positions in football with your left tackle if Eric Fisher gets back from that Achilles injury. So overall, man, I'm a huge fan of this move because, you know, it locks you in for at least this year, but also if he doesn't recover from this Achilles injury, I think you also could move on from him, right? You're only locked in 1 year. Yeah. So I think this is a win-win for the Colts, win-win for Eric Fisher. If he does, you know, end up coming back and getting back to form, then he gets a multi-year deal, maybe with the Colts, maybe with another team. We'll see exactly how that pans out. But for the immediate future, Carson Wentz's blind side, it's looking pretty good this season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're going to have to see just how many games specifically Fisher's going to end up missing. You know, I mean, it gives me it seems like, you know, we should be understanding that the Colts would not have made this move if they didn't feel comfortable with where Eric Fisher is personally from a rehab standpoint. Right. I mean, there were so many other options that the Colts could have done that would have been so much more efficient than Eric Fisher. But had they felt that they were comfortable with what was being said about his injury and how they didn't think there was going to be any long-term problems and all of that stuff, then, I mean, ultimately that's where they thought was best at. And I mean, might miss 3-4 games. We have Sam Tevy to help out with that. And I'm sure that we'll have a couple tight ends to help out with the blindside blocking for sure, for at least the beginning part. But yeah, I mean, when Eric Fisher gets to come on to the left tackle spot and that offensive line starts getting going, whew, man, that's a top 3 offensive line, no question.
Oh, easily. I mean, Eric Fisher, one of the best tackles in the league. Quentin Nelson, best offensive lineman in the league. Ryan Kelly, top 3 center. Mark Glowinski, above average guard. Braden Smith, I would argue, easily top 5 tackle in this league. Yeah. So all these guys have accolades, right? Besides really Mark Glowinski, I think Braden Smith really should have gotten a Pro Bowl, right? Even though he has, it's kind of a crime that he doesn't have a Pro Bowl at this point.
He should have gotten an All-Pro selection.
All-Pro even, yeah. He should have got something last year.
Yeah.
But in our minds, he's a Pro Bowl, All-Pro player, right? Yeah. So the Colts have all those guys, and their biggest weakness is an above average guard. I will take that every single day of the week. And if Mark Glowinski, for whatever reason, goes back to 2019 form, the Colts have a guy in Chris Reed that could step in and be a very good offensive lineman as well. So from just a starter standpoint and from a depth standpoint, this offensive line, Derek, is the best I think the Colts have had in a long, long time.
Oh, I think this might be the best offensive line we've ever seen, period. I mean, it could go down as that if Eric Fisher comes back to true form and this offensive line stays together. This might go down as the best offensive line Indianapolis ever had. I'm sure there will be some Indianapolis geeks out there that'll tell me otherwise, but I mean, as long as I've been alive, I don't think that there's been an offensive line for the Colts with this much potential to be so great.
What's the least amount of sacks ever allowed in a season? That's my question.
I don't know. The Colts went pretty low in 2019 when 2018 with Andrew Luck, when they only gave up 18. So, I mean, that was pretty dang low. So I don't know how much lower it gets than that, but it was pretty dang low.
Yeah, and also, my goodness, Jonathan Taylor's got to be foaming at the mouth, man. Him and Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines. I mean, literally, Marcus Brady must just be like, this must be a dream. Like, this is insane. I don't know how I have all these guys.
to go from Anthony Costanzo, a very good left tackle for many, many years, to now go to Eric Fisher, who, when healthy, is a really good left tackle. I mean, to just go from Anthony Costanzo to the closest thing to Anthony Costanzo that you could get, that has to be a good feeling.
Absolutely. Well, what do you guys think? Do you agree with our take on Eric Fisher potentially being the Colts starter, not just this season, but maybe down the line? Let us know in the comments below. But for Derek and myself, that'll do it for this one, guys. Pumped about this move. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. Getting closer to 7K. Cannot believe we are almost there. Thank you, everybody who tunes in. If you're still watching this video, be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. That'll do it for this one, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, go Colts!